My name is Tony McDonald. I'm the General Counsel for Empower Texans and Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. I'm going to put my little stopwatch on because I'm known as a very gregarious person. I'll try to keep this short. I was asked a little while back to start talking to groups of citizens just like yourself about the issue of parliamentary rules, the House rules, the Senate rules. And I stopped for a second. I thought, what do I need to tell a group of citizens who are engaged about the rules? I have my copy of House Practice here. I figured I would bring a prop. And if you flip through this book, there isn't a whole lot that talks about each of you. You go to Rule 1, Section 5, it talks about the public. And I can tell you, this is the one rule that actually impacts everyone in this room, is a requirement for decorum. So you are expected, if you're in the House gallery, if you're in a committee room, you're there to testify, or you're there just to watch with the proceedings, to maintain a certain level of decorum. People are expected to dress a certain way, to not yell out, not to hold signs, not to lead a chant. Obviously, certain people, if you'll recall the filibuster from last session, don't understand that those are rules, but we certainly don't want to conduct ourselves that way. But I don't think I'm really here to tell you what your grade school teacher told you. Be nice, share, be polite. That's probably not entirely helpful. So what is it really that we're talking about when we talk about the rules? Well, in 1949, the parliamentarian of the House, he'd been the parliamentarian for, I think, 20-something years at that time, by the name of Reed Granberry, has a great quote. He said, "Oratory doesn't hold a candle to parliamentary tactics." And what was he speaking about? Well, for those of you who have been here, I guess maybe if I can get a little bit of a show of hands, who here has heard of or seen somebody call a point of order? Heard of that? Okay, some general awareness of this. I think this is why I'm asked to talk about this, because I think the whole point of order thing becomes a mystery to the public, to those who don't know the rules. It's this mystery. Why is it that a guy can come to the back microphone and go, "Mr. Speaker, point of order"? And it feels like that guy, a lot of times the Democrats, who are very well versed in this, it feels like that guy's getting a vote 150 times. We all elect a guy to go up here, they vote, and they say, we're for this and we're for that, and we vote, it's 76 votes, you win. But that guy gets to stop it dead in its tracks, and a lot of times, they will say that kills the bill. Well, the reality is it kind of goes backwards in the process, but when you only have 140 days, delay is death, as they say. So, why is it that that guy gets to do that thing? And that's the reason for that is that the rules are there. The rules that are in this book are designed to both protect the minority in the legislature, those who don't have the votes, but more importantly, they're there to protect each and every one of you so that you can be involved in the legislative process. And I'll explain what I mean. So if you look in the rules, there's kind of two different kinds of rules that are designed to protect each and every one of you. There's rules that pertain to content of bills, content of the attachments to the bills. If you're engaged and you're up here a lot, you'll probably go on the Texas Legislature website. There's, bill analyses, fiscal notes, those kind of things. Those are all required to be accurate. You're not supposed to be misled by what you're reading. If you're being misled, that's unfair because you're not being told the full truth about what's being passed through the legislature. But more importantly, there are a lot of rules that deal with procedure, that deal with how things have to be done and in what order. And the whole purpose of that is to give each of you notice so that you can know what's going on down here and you can have your say. You can either talk to your representative or you can come and speak on a bill or testify or what have you. Think about it. There's jurisdiction of committees. There's an agriculture committee, and the agriculture committee sees agriculture things. There's a criminal jurisprudence committee. That's the committee that deals with changes to our criminal laws. And so, think about that. That's actually a protection for each of you. For folks in here, Faith and Family, you're going to be interested in what's going on in the Public Health Committee. Deals with abortion life issues, end-of-life issues in particular. you're going to be interested in the State Affairs Committee that deals with those kind of things. You might be less interested in the Transportation Committee, or you could be really into that. There are other rules, 5-day posting rules, whenever you have a committee meeting. A bill's supposed to be put up in time so that you can know that, what's going to happen. You can plan and actually come down to Austin and testify. There's rules as to calendars, when things come to the floor. There's constitutional rules. There's the one subject rule. Unlike in Washington, D.C., we don't just mash everything into one big mass and, we're voting on the troops, but we're also voting on, museums, peanut museums or something like that. So we don't do that here in this state. All of those rules are there to protect you and to protect your rights to be engaged in the legislative process. And so I'm not going to teach everyone in 5-10 minutes here to be a parliamentarian. I think that would be a fruitless task. But what I would encourage you is, if you ever feel like you've been misled, if you feel like you're reading a document up here or on the legislative website, you feel like you've been misled, or if you feel like you've been, you haven't received notice that something is a surprise, they pulled a fast one on you, tell your representative. Complain to your representative, particularly somebody who agrees with you on the issue that you're concerned about. But tell your representative, or come talk to somebody like me who knows the process, and I can tell you, well, they pulled one on you and here's how they did it, or, yeah, that really is a violation of the rules. I would be remiss if I did not talk about certain rules that are not in this book that apply to you. A moment ago, I described you as engaged citizens. I mean, this is a room full of people who are engaged, who are actually moving the ball, impacting the legislative process. It has become a bad habit, and I've been guilty of it myself, of people who come to Austin to talk to their representatives and senators to describe themselves as lobbying. That they're coming to Austin, I'm going to go lobby my legislator. Or they say, I'm going to, we're going to be a citizen lobbyist. There was a great group of people last session when I was working up here who described themselves as citizen lobbyists. They did great things. They were very informed. They had issues to talk about. But they're not lobbyists. A lobbyist is a hired gun. A lobbyist is somebody who, that's their career, to build relationships and then sell those relationships to another organization who's trying to move the ball up here at the legislature. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a lobbyist or doing lobbying, but that doesn't mean that what everyday folks do on a day-to-day basis when they petition their government, when they talk to their legislator about the things that they care about, doesn't make you a lobbyist. That said, when you come to Austin and you're effective, people will try to find ways to shut you up. And so I would be remiss if I did not talk very briefly about the lobby law. I will not go into all the details found in Chapter 305 of the Government Code. And as an attorney, I will tell you, it may not be exactly helpful to read it because it's one of the most confusing pieces of code that we have. It's confusing because it's unconstitutional, but I won't go down that track entirely. There are two ways that a person can become a lobbyist, basic ways. You can either be paid or you can spend money. My best piece of advice to each of you is don't get paid to come down here to talk about the issues you care about. Do it out of the goodness of your heart because you're trying to improve your state and improve our nation. If you're going to get paid, talk to an attorney about it and figure out whether that's okay or whether you have to register or not. The other part is don't spend money down here on anything other than your own transportation, your own, there's a couple exceptions for that sort of thing. People think because professional lobbyists do this, that the one effective way to talk to your state rep is you show up with a plate of fajitas and ask, please here, take this offering of fajitas and listen to my spiel. A, that's not necessary, and B, you risk getting into a lot of trouble when you're giving things of value to a state representative, state senator, or their staff. And the last thing I'll say on that is there's no exception for, well, we've been pals for a really long time. And that's where it can get kind of awkward. If you have friends who work here in the legislature, if your representative or senator is a friend, you need to be very careful. And you really shouldn't consult an attorney before you give anything to that person other than your peace of mind. So I will be around here. Like I said, I'm with Empower Texans. And so if you ever need to reach me or you have a quandary about any of these issues, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.